Howdy y'all, Matt here, and today we're working on the Bell Auto Parts Special. This is Seattle Speed Shop. Stay tuned. Have you ever put your new project on the ground and tried to push it outside and your wheels do this? Steering is almost as important as stance, and there are a few things you need to look out for. Besides the nut behind the wheel. We've got a few parts picked out for our spindle to steering box attachment and our tie rod stuff, but we're going to talk more about that later. What we need to focus on is the tie rod. So there's a couple issues, and I'm going to show you what's up. The first major problem with lowering a banger powered Model A is that the front cross member, the motor mount, and the tie rod all want to occupy the same space. Now this is an early cross member with a built-in mount. The later mounts, which have springs, they just bolt in the middle here. And then your tie rod, they all want to be right here. So, like I said, there's really not room for all that without re-engineering the front mount, and who wants to do that? So you can see that's kind of a problem. So one of the things a guy will do is put a jog in the tie rod assembly. This is the bar that goes between the two wheels. He'll put a little like U-shaped jog in the bar in order to clear that, which is fine, that works. One of my main issues with that is that you lose adjustability in your tie rod. So now you have to make a full revolution just to adjust your tie rod in or out, and you lose the ability to adjust it with it on the car. You have to pop one of the tie rod ends out of the arm on the spindle in order to make that adjustment. And not that that's the end of the world, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. And I figure if you're going as far to build a car, you might as well try and engineer it as best as you can. So what I do is heat and bend the steering arm. Here you can see a stock one. And this basically is so we're trying to get the tie rod below the wishbone. The problem is with it connected to one side, it doesn't actually clear the wishbone, even with a super steep drop on the arm. You also have the option of SoCal GT2 deep drop bolt-on front steering arms if you don't want to heat and bend your originals. The GT2 SoCal bolt-on arm can actually still use a straight tie rod, which is very handy. I like to do things a little bit more traditional, but this is a really good way, especially if you don't have a torch set or you don't feel comfortable making that modification. The more traditional method is these. So these are a dropped tie rod. These are actually off of a 37 to 39 Willys. And they would use a different style of tie rod end than actually I have available right now. Which is okay because we have these. Now these are available from Speedway. These are for a 48 to 64 Ford half-ton pickup with a drop beam. It's a lowering tie rod. It's basically the same thing we're trying to do on this Model A. It's the same early Ford thread, same taper. So this is a great alternative to this, and you can use a more modern style tie rod tube. We're going to go ahead and use this today just because I don't have any of the outside thread tubing or anything to thread into this. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting that together. So as you can see, I've got a little bit too much length. And we need to take off some of the tie rod. So this is really where having some early Ford specialty tools begins to pay off, such as an 11/16 18 tap, so that we can cut this off. And then I just wipe that away. Brilliant move. So after we cut this off, we can retap this section right here and thread this in. Alright, so just my rough measurement was roughly 36.5 inches, so I just decided to go to 36, which makes our piece 3 feet long. So we're just going to chop the excess 7.5 inches off right now. Alright, here we are fitting it up and getting the tie rod connected to the spindle steering arm. I had actually originally dropped these arms with the intent of trying to use a straight tie rod, but didn't have enough room, so I went to this style. As you can see, I've got plenty of clearance now. You know, but that'll work. It's not my favorite, but it'll work. Now that we got our wheels talking to each other, it's time to connect the spindle to the steering box. So first we're gonna try and get a hoop style steering arm on our left front driver side spindle. We're just going to use kind of this modern, readily available reproduction. Just because it's easy, safe, and I have it on the shelf. I do want to show you this old modified one that someone made from angle iron. I will label this in the things we used to do but don't do anymore category. Just kind of an old relic I've kept around because I thought it was an interesting conversation piece. Definitely a no longer acceptable way to do things in my book. I will give them A+ for rounding their corners. But we're going to file this in the things we don't do anymore. Alright, so we're going to bolt this to the driver's side spindle through here, and we'll use one of these replacement tapered balls. These are available from pretty much any at least Model A supplier. Most early Ford suppliers should have this. It's got a little 7-degree tapered on the end, meant for a cotter nut and pin. This will go in here. So now that bolts in here, and this is our stock Model A Pitman arm drag link. This will bolt to the steering box, and then the little ball goes in this end here. Wham bam, we've got steering. One of the problems with this setup is there's no adjustment here, and it's actually slightly short. I've driven my truck for 10 years like this. I'm not saying it's good, but I have done it. Probably caused some premature wear on the steering box by doing it. But a better method, and really it's besides the point, I'm just telling you I've done it. I don't recommend it, but it's close enough that it works, especially for a mock-up, which is what we're doing here. What I'd like to do is maybe have a piece like this, and it just has a tie rod end here, which is the same taper as this ball I just put in, and we'll talk to there, and then we'll do some sort of adjustable end that will talk to the stock Model A steering. So that's going to be a future mat problem. I really just want to get this mocked up so I can push it in and out of the garage, concentrate on other parts of the car. This doesn't really fit perfectly, so I got to figure out some way to make this talk 100%. So we will save that project for later. I'm going to get this stuff on the car, and then we'll have steering. So let me show you. All right, so let's get that on there. Again, this is just mock-up. As you can see, don't even have brake backing plates on this car. It actually would be really nice if we didn't have drums on it either. Or a flex head ratchet. This just slides onto the stock steering box because it's stock A stuff. That goes there. Alright, so if you don't know how kind of the early Ford tie rods and drag links work, you have a spring with a cupped washer here, and this, which is a kind of a screw piece with another cupped end on it, and these go, so this slides in here, and this screws in here, and they go around the steering ball right there. A really simple setup. Once we get this somewhat tightened up, we've got steering. I do need to get one of the special steering bolts right here, and I just can't find one right now, but got one coming. It's at least not good enough to drive, but we're not going anywhere right now. It'll at least be good for testing this out. All right, well that's about it. We got some steering on this thing. So as you can see, it goes back and forth. It's still very loose, like this isn't permanent. Still have a lot of things to do to this car, but we can at least steer it by myself now, and that's kind of all I was going for. And to show you how you could put one of these together using very simple bolt-on parts. So real quick, we've just got a stock pitman arm down to a stock drag link. You can see there's even a bend in this. I just had this. This isn't permanent. We'll replace this with a better one soon. So that comes over and connects to our steering arm, which bolts here at the backing plate bolts, and comes down to our spindle. and our drop tie rod ends and our now custom tie rod bar over to the passenger side. And yeah, we're totally got steering now. So I hope this at least helps someone do it on a banger powered hot rod and figure it out and get past the trouble of hitting the front crossbar. All right guys, I just want to thank you for watching. Real happy we got steering now. And we're going to keep working on the Bell Auto Parts special. So stay tuned. I'm hoping to have this done by the end of the year. If not the end of the year, at least the beginning of next year. Wow. It's always great when your systems start working. Anyways, hope you guys have a good weekend. Take care.